Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of Matthew. We're midway through Matthew chapter 21, and we're in Holy Week. Jesus has come to Jerusalem for the Passover. The cross is only a few days away. We saw Jesus enter the city to the acclaim of the crowd as they laid palm branches in the road. We've also seen Jesus cleanse the temple. And now in the last half of chapter 21 and the first half of chapter 22, we see the escalating conflict between Jesus and the Pharisees. Now, this conflict between them has been building as the Pharisees are seeking to destroy Jesus. And now that he's in Jerusalem for the Passover, they continue that hostility toward him. So what we're going to see is that first they question Jesus' authority. And then Jesus tells three parables. A parable of the two sons, a parable of tenant farmers, and a parable of a wedding banquet, in order to illustrate how the Pharisees are refusing to follow the ways of the kingdom of God. Now it begins with their questioning of Jesus' authority. We're in chapter 21, verse 23 and following. Jesus enters the temple courts. He's teaching. The chief priests, the elders, come to him and they say, "By what authority are you doing these things? Who gave you this authority?" And when they're talking about these things, they're not only referencing the teaching of Jesus, that's involved, of course, but also referencing what he did in cleansing the temple. When he overturned the tables of the money changers and those who were selling the animals for sacrifice. When he cleansed the temple, they're saying, "Who gave you the authority to do such a thing?" They're questioning Jesus' right to do what he did, to say what he said. They're questioning his authority. Jesus replies, "Let me ask you a question. If you answer me, then I will tell you by what authority I do these things." John's baptism, he's referring to John the Baptist. John's baptism, where did it come from? Was it from heaven or was it from men? In other words, John the Baptist, did he operate in the authority of God or was it simply a human thing? Now they discussed it among themselves and they said, "Now if we say from heaven, then Jesus will ask, why didn't you believe him? And if we say from men, well, we're afraid of the crowds, for they hold John was a prophet." So they answered Jesus, "We don't know." Jesus said, "Neither will I tell you the authority by which I do these things." Jesus catches them in their lie. You see, they don't care about authority. They're just trying to destroy Jesus. So he says, let's talk about John the Baptist, who prepared the way for me. Do you think he was a prophet? Or do you think he was just a deceiver? They refused to answer because they would not follow John. So they can't say he's a prophet from heaven with heavenly authority, but neither do they want to say he was a deceiver because all the people still hold John in high regard. They still remember him with great reverence. So they simply say, well, we don't know. They do know. They just refuse to answer. So Jesus says, "I'll not tell you my authority then." Because your question about authority is not a sincere one. You don't really care. It's a trick, a trap. You're trying to trap me to say something. "I'll not play games with you." You know, Jesus didn't put up with the foolishness of the Pharisees. They were not interested in the things of God, and he's not going to play their games. He said, if you really were interested in where my authority comes from, you would recognize it already, because the signs of heaven are all over it. I mean, the miracles I've done, the wonders that have accompanied me, the blind receiving their sight, the lame walking, all the miracles, that shows you where my authority comes from. You're not really interested in the truth. You're just trying to destroy me. So I'm not going to play your game. Jesus will not fall into the trap the Pharisees are trying to lay for him. His authority is clear if you'll just open your eyes. It's that the Pharisees refuse to open their eyes. They refuse to see. You know, we have that old saying, there are none so blind as he who will not see. And that's the Pharisees. They refuse to see. And so Jesus will have nothing to do with their questions. And now he's going to tell three parables that clarify the mistake the Pharisees are making and that show what the Pharisees are doing. So tomorrow we'll begin to look at these three parables Jesus tells about the Pharisees. Parable of two sons, parable of tenant farmers, and the parable of a wedding banquet, all relating to the mistake the Pharisees are making in closing their eyes to who Jesus is. You have a great day today, and I'll see you next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of Matthew.